I got lost one time walking around in the Pine Barrens of southern New Jersey alone on a night when there was a massive rainstorm coming, and I almost had to call a rescue party to get me out of the situation, but I did not have to do that because God did me a real solid that night and got me out. And this is how it happened. All right, so I walk around in the woods all the time, by myself sometimes, with people sometimes, day or night, doesn't matter. I do it a lot. All right, on this one particular night, it was January 30th of 2013. I was by myself. I was deep in the forest. A lot of people don't know this, but southern New Jersey has a big forest called the Pine Barrens. All right, it's like over 1 million acres of like pine trees and beach sand, basically. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, all right? Like, a lot of people don't even know about it, all right? But I know about it. I'm in there all the time. And I grew up right at the edge of that forest. All right, so I'm in there a lot. Anyhow, walking around one day, I went out in like kind of the mid-late afternoon or whatever, by myself, and I'm taking all these different trails this day. Just walking, just enjoying myself, relaxing, all right? And in order to find my way back, I'm like basically putting an arrow in the sand with my foot, like with my shoe. I'm digging like an arrow in the sand, you know, like about which way is the way back. All right, so I come into an intersection, it's all dirt roads, all right? Dirt roads, dirt paths, pine trees, beach sand, that's what it is. Big forest. Like, there's places in it where you can see to the horizon if you go up on a particular fire tower. It's wild, all right? So anyhow, I'm putting these arrows, you know, instructing me on how to get back, all right? And mind you, this is at a time when I believe I had an older flip phone. So it's 2013. I definitely did not have a smartphone at this point. All right. If it had any kind of GPS, it was extremely basic. And I don't even know if I ever used it because it was probably worthless to use anyway because it was just so old school, okay? And my battery was pretty low on my phone. So anyhow, walking around, and it starts to get kind of near towards dark, and I find this really cool spot, like a really beautiful spot, all right? And I remember I called my buddy. I'm like, hey man, you gotta check this place out sometime. He was a dirt biker. And I remember telling him that, and he's like, oh, that sounds cool, you know, whatever. I find the spot, and I'm like, all right. In my mind, I'm like, time to head back. So I start walking back. And I walk a little bit. I get to this dirt intersection. It's starting to get dark now, a little bit dark, all right? Get to this dirt intersection, and I start looking for my arrow to like show me which way I turned. It's a 4-way intersection, all right? And as I'm looking and looking, I don't find the arrow. And like 15 minutes goes by. I feel a little nervous. I'm like, it's not cool. Don't remember this happening before. And I did a bunch of turns this day. I was kind of reckless. I probably turned 12, 15 different times, okay? So I'm looking for it, don't find it. But in my mind, I'm thinking, I think that I should go right here. So I go right, all right? I start to time it, all right? Because I want to kind of know like how long it's taking me to get to wherever I'm going next. So I walk up about 7 minutes, and I come to another intersection. Now it's getting like noticeably darker, all right? And I'm looking and I can't find it, all right? Now I start to get a little angsty. I start a little bit nervous, you know, because like I'm starting to realize like this is something that hasn't really happened before. But in my mind, I'm not there yet where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm lost. Like I haven't let myself get to that point where I'm realizing that, all right? So I'm looking and I'm getting a little more nervous. Like, this kind of sucks, like what's going on? And I can't find it. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna go back to the last intersection because it's gotta be there. I must have just not seen it somehow, all right? So I walk back and I'm walking kind of briskly. I wanna get back there soon. I'm running out of light, all right? The light on my phone, like I said, I have a lower battery, all right? The light on my phone is weak at best, so it's not gonna help me much, all right? So I remember as I'm walking back, it's starting to kind of dawn on me like, you know, this isn't the best spot. I don't like this. I wanna get out of this. I wanna find my arrow and get back home. Get back to my vehicle and go home, all right? So I get back there, and I'm looking and looking and looking again, and I can't find it. And then it hits me, all right? It hits me, and this is when everything kind of changed badly. It dawned on me, like it is basically dark at this point, all right? It might be a tiny bit of light left, but it is pretty dark at this point. And all of a sudden it hits me. Where I remember, before I left, looking at the weather. And the weather for that night was like downpour rain. Like torrential downpour rain. Like heavy, heavy rain all night. And it was scheduled to start like kind of soon. I don't know, I forget exactly how short, you know, how, it wasn't much more than like an hour or two or so in the future. All right, like downpour rain all night, which it eventually ended up doing, okay? And then I start to go into this mode that I was not used to going into, which I recommend to people. If you ever get in the spot, you need to like pray. I don't even know if I was a Christian at that point, but I would definitely pray at that point, because you need, you know, you need to get yourself to relax and think clearly. And I didn't really think clearly at this point. I don't know if I was praying or not. All right. But I remember calling my friend back and being like, yo. The first thing I said to him was like, you cannot tell my folks this. They will have a heart attack. Like, they'll freak out. Like, they love me and they don't want this. They don't want to hear this. I'm like, but I've lost my way, dude. I don't know where I'm at. Never had this happen. But I need you to help me out. I'm like, I'm trying to explain to him where I'm at. All right. And I'm trying to get him to like go on Google Maps. And so he's looking, I'm trying to explain this. I'm like, you know, here's where I'm at. This is the last thing I remember seeing, blah, blah, blah. And he's not familiar with it. And so I'm like, listen, do me a favor. I was like, call up one of your dirt bike friends. All right. Because he eventually did get to the point where he kind of understood where I was at. All right. Some lakes nearby or whatever. And I said, listen, call up one of your buddies. And if you can get them to like come out on the dirt bikes, I'll hear the dirt bike. All right. And like, I'll be able to just tell by the sound of it or whatever, like where they're at. And I could just locate them that way. Like, I was just thinking all this crazy stuff. And I offered to pay him like $500 or something. It might have been $700. I was like, I will gladly pay somebody like a ton of money, like a good amount of money to just get me out of the situation. All right. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, what do I do? Like, it's in downpour rain. I had writing tablets on my person at that time. I used to write a lot about this is another story for another day, but I used to write a lot. And those writings were precious to me. Precious to me. All right. And I started thinking about this, and I'm like, if it starts to really pour rain, like hard pour, they'll get destroyed. I can't protect them. Even if I like put them in my boxers, like I can't protect them. They're just going to get soaked and destroyed. So that was weighing on my mind pretty heavily. All right. In addition to the fact that like I had never been in the spot before. All right. You start to get a little panicky. All right. I remember as I'm talking to him, I started to kind of like stutter a little bit and stammer, like my voice, which has never happened to me before. But in retrospect, I realized it was because I started to like panic was starting to set in. You do not want to get to this spot. You really don't. You need to cut that stuff off, that type of thinking. But I didn't at the time. All right. I started to think like, well, what do I do? Like if his friend doesn't pull through, like, do I like call the Rangers? Do I call 911? Do I get them to like send a search team out here? I mean, do they send dogs? Like, how does this work? Is this going to cost me like $100,000 for them to come out? Like, I just didn't know. I'm like, but all I knew was like, I want out. I want out of this situation. Like now, like right now, I want out. And it's this weird feeling of being able to like, it's a feeling of being able to go anywhere, but just not escape. But like you're stuck. You can go anywhere, but at the same time, you're stuck. All right. And these beautiful avenues of the tree avenues, like in the forest, that every other time, you know, I love to be in, I love to see and everything, took on this like dimension of just like, I don't know, like bizarre, like crazy woods now. Like, I need to get out of this, you know? So anyhow, I'm like, yo, call your friend and call me back. Like, call me right back, please. So he calls his friend and he calls me back. And he's like, yeah, all my friends who dirt bike aren't around. They can't do it. And so now I'm like, I'm out of ideas. And I'm like, What do I do? Because I do not want to call the authorities to do this. I don't want to call like 911 to get me out of this. I am like, unless my life depends on it, I'm not going to do that. All right. And I don't even know. I don't know. Like, I was really didn't want to do that. All right. I just didn't want to get out that way. So, as I'm talking to him the second time, my voice is stuttery. Like, I'm like, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out, like, you know, like, what do I do? Like, how do I get out of this? Like, I don't know what to do. I had not seen a single soul all day. Like, I will purposefully sometimes find my way. I'll look at maps and find my way into the center of the woods. All right. Like I said, like the Pine Barrens of Jersey is like over 1 million acres. I will find my way into the center of it to sit there and like see what the center of the woods is like. It's just a passion of mine. All right. So I know I'm out there. All right. And I don't see a soul all day, not a single person. I'm just by myself walking around. All right. Like, I clear my head this way. This is like, it's therapy for me. I love it. All right. So all of a sudden, as I'm talking to my friend in the distance, and now mind you, I don't know at all where I'm at, but as I'm talking to him in the distance, I see lights appear. I look, I'm like, you know, like, what is that? And then I realize that I'm seeing like it was a pickup truck in the distance, because now it's fully dark. It's fully dark. I'm in the woods. I'm trying to escape because I'm about to get slammed with like a freaking monsoon, okay? And I see the lights from a pickup truck in the distance. So I say to my friend, I'm like, yo, I see lights, I gotta go. And I hang up the phone, throw it in my pocket, and just start, now I just start to run towards the lights. All right? And so now I'm like running through random woods, potentially getting myself way, way more lost towards these lights. And I remember this. I remember it dawned on me where I was like, for a split second, I thought about it and I'm like, you know, I don't know who these people are that I'm like gonna go run up to in the woods. Like, I don't know who they are. I don't know if they're like freaking serial killers. Like, I don't know. And as soon as the thought came to me, I just flushed it out and I remember being like, I don't care, I'm going for it. Because it was like my one shot at getting out. All right. So they're coming up this way and I'm like running up. All right. And finally, when we get close together, I start like hollering out. I'm like, hold on, stop. Hold on a second. I put my hands up, you know, like this. Hold up, right? And I just stand at a distance, and I'll never forget this, because this was the freakiest part. The freakiest part of the night was this instant, because I knew what was going on in their heads. All right. As I like yell out, they don't just like jam on their brakes and be like, yeah, buddy, hop on in, you know, you need a ride? No. They very slowly come to a stop. Very slowly. Like they're thinking about it. Because I'm out here yelling, I'm like, listen, I'm lost. I've lost my way. I need help me, right? And so they slowly come to a stop. And this is where I'm the most freaked out. Because in my mind, I'm like, I know where they're at. In their mind, they're judging this. They're weighing this out. A part of them is saying, you know what? We should probably just gas it, bounce, and say forget it to whatever the hell that was, and just be on our merry way and just forget about all that, because we don't know who this person is who's just now running up to us in the woods at night by himself, right? And I know they're thinking it, right? So I'll never forget this either. I said to them, so it was two guys, right? Driver and a passenger. The passenger guy, I can only see a silhouette the whole time. All right. This whole experience, this guy does not say a syllable of a word. I mean, not a syllable of a word. Nothing. He's just sitting there. He's just listening. He's just evaluating, like whatever this is, right? The driver's cordial, but reserved. He's hearing me out. You know, he's not making any small talk, but, you know, giving, you know, short answers to whatever. So I'm standing there like this, my hands kind of like this, like, hey guys, listen, I hike a lot. I've lost my way. I don't know where I'm at, and I need to get out of here. And I had gone to I remember I went to the ATM earlier that night. I had like exactly $100 in 20s on me, all right? And so I said, I'm like, listen, I will gladly give you this $100 if you can just get me to where I know where I'm at, right? And so they're just kind of listening, you know, like I said, passenger dude, just silent as a mouse. Driver's like, you know, whatever. And then I say something that like, it was like something, it just altered the mood. You could feel it in the air. I say, I'm like, listen, I realize you don't know me from Adam, all right? So if you'll just let me like jog behind your truck, like if you can just let me jog behind your truck, then this $100 is yours. Gladly give it to you, right? And it was like, when I said that, it was like something changed in the air. You could sense it. Where it was like, it kind of hit the guy where he was like, oh, this is real. Like this dude's like legit lost. Like this guy really is lost. Because he's not asking like, hey guys, can I hop in, you know, hop in the cab or hop in the bed of the truck? He's asking if he can just run behind us. Like, I mean, you know, there's no real danger to us. We know where we're at and we could just gun it and go if he's a problem. So as soon as I said that, it was like something changed. And he goes, nah, you don't have to do that. Just hop on the bed and, you know, we'll get you out of here. So I hop on the bed and we go. Now, so I'm sitting in the back and this dude's going fast. And I started thinking about it, I'm like, he's bugging out. He's going to change his mind. He's going to just really gun it so I get thrown off the back. Like I'm really thinking this stuff. So I'm trying to like yell because it's loud too. Like yell like small talk or whatever. Trying to just like ease his tension, right? And again, passenger dude, silent, total silent, right? And we're just making small talk. I don't think I ever got his name or anything. All right. And so finally they get me to a road that I'm familiar with, where I know I can get back to my vehicle. And I hop off and, you know, I walk sort of up to the driver's side, but like at a somewhat distance, pull my wallet out, grab the $100. And I remember this, I hand it over to him and I'm like, listen, I'm like, I am gladly giving you this. Like, you deserve this. Like, you don't understand. I was in like the worst spot I've been in a very, very long time. And so I really appreciate this. Like, this is the least I could do, but you definitely earned it. And I hand it to him. I like, you know, I'm like, here, count it out if you want. And I remember he kind of looks at me and he grins a little bit and he takes it and he goes, I'm sure it's all there, man. You have a good night. And he just takes it and he rolls. And I was like, for like 4 days after this, I was like on like, almost like a natural high, because I realized like I had just dodged a bullet. All right, for sure. Like God delivered me big time on this. All right. So for 4 days, I was like ecstatic. All right. And sometimes when I tell people this story, they're like, oh, I can't believe he took your money. But I'm like, what are you talking about? I gladly gave it to him. It's almost like somebody who does something really cool for you and you want to give them something. So I'm glad he took it. It would have bothered me if he didn't take it, you know? So anyhow, that was that. And I walked back to my vehicle and got out of there. And very shortly thereafter, that rain came down. And that rain came down hard all night. Like, it would have been a problem. It would have been literally like, it wasn't like a super cold January night, but it was cold enough where if I was getting slammed with rain all night, I could potentially get hypothermia. It was a pretty serious situation, you know, but God delivered me, like I said, from that one, you know. So, and just as a side note, yeah, the very next night, I went back out to the same exact spot and hiked around and tried to figure out, you know, what happened, and had kind of another adventure that night. But I didn't get lost. I didn't get lost that time, but I did have fun. So, a word of caution. Be overly cautious, all right? If you go walking around in the woods by yourself, all right, take precautions. It's very wise to do so. You don't want to get in that spot. It is not fun. I promise you that. So, take care.